Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I just want to have a general chat. So this is a bit of a surreal video for me because, I had this list of things that I was going to discuss, or could have discussed. I've got the Q&A series to continue. I still need to make episode 2 of that at some point. I was going to make another bizarre criticisms of Stomaria part 2 because there are some more that I want to make. Some are quite funny, and some are just bizarre, oddly enough. And the first one we did actually got a really good response, and it was quickly become a very popular video on our channel. And so I wanted to make another one of those. Another one was the statement that sometimes comes my way when I talk about micronations and micronationalism from largely members of the general public, but even other micronationalists, in that micronationalism is a waste of time. And I wanted to make a retort to that, if you like, to that idea, that criticism of micronationalism in general. And there was a few other things I want to talk about as well. I mean, the fundraising campaign, the 2022 fundraising campaign, that's going well. I'll talk about that in this video, I suspect, actually. But I didn't want to talk about anything in specific, anything in detail. I've come home early. Empress Samantha and Princess Eleanor are still out and about and will be for some hours. And I just want to chill. I just want to have a nice little chat with myself, and just to go through the things that are happening in Stomaria and the wider Stomarian community. So yeah, let's get started with, today is the 1st of June. It's Wednesday, and on the Saturday, I'm going to go visit King Raoul at the Kingdom of Wayward. So that's something that's happening. Now, this isn't something that's particularly unusual in the sense that, when two micronational leaders get together, it's normally a big hubbub wherever you go. But I've met, King Raoul somewhere between 50 and 100 times at this point. Honestly, if I documented every time I went to go visit him, it would double or triple the number of videos that I have on this channel. But this particular visit, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's still a bit in the works at the moment. But it is quite an exciting visit, this particular one, because there's, the nature of the discussion I'm going to be having with King Raoul is regarding the acquisition of land. Now, King Raoul is the one that's actually approaching me about this. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the long and the short of it is that hopefully by the year's end, the size of Stomarian and Waywoodian territory is going to be expanded. Now, I'm not going to say much more than that. Needless to say, it's just about the acquisition of more land and the way we're going to go about doing this. And I will make a video dedicated to this at some point, or I will direct people to the Kingdom of Wayward's video, which I'm sure will go over this as well if something happens, if something comes of it. So I'm not going to jump the gun, I'm not going to discuss it in detail, but it is quite exciting because there are options and opportunities and possibilities that could come about in the next few weeks, but we'll just have to see how that goes. But also when I go down there, it'll be the first time that I bring my more regal attire. People know the ceremonial uniform for the Imperial Guard that I wear on occasion. The plan at the moment is for me to go down both in my what you might call casual clothes and also the ceremonial uniform. And because I think King Raoul wants to do an interview with me, which I'm happy to do. I mean, I have done interviews with King Raoul before, and I have done interviews with other Micronational leaders, but this one is going to be, nice, because I'm sure it'll be a sunny, pleasant day in the woodland. I'll be dressed in my regal attire. Raoul will be dressed in his regal attire. We'll have some photos. We'll have a chit chat, and people like it when they. I mean, some of the most, in fact, one of the most popular videos, if not the most popular video, is an interview that I had with King Raoul when I was interviewing him. I wasn't in my regal attire. I was actually in the field uniform of the Imperial Guard, so the sort of the camo. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. So that's the first thing I just wanted to discuss. I'm going to go visit Raoul. It's going to be an interesting affair. It's going to be something that's either going to be recorded, some photos taken. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be happening soon. Another thing I wanted to discuss was the 2022 fundraising campaign, which has gone very well so far. We've been able to allocate £2,500 out of the £25,000 total that we're hoping to raise by October. And yeah, I mean, some of that has come from the sale of Stomaria merchandise. Some of it's come from new citizens joining the Empire of Stomaria. Some of it's come from ad revenue from our YouTube channel, and most of it has come from me and from the Imperial family as a whole, I suppose. But that was always going to be the case. I mean, Stomaria is very much a project that's funded primarily through the Imperial family. As it is the case in most Micronations, it's normally the founder, be they a king, an emperor, or a president, or whatever else. It's normally them that sort of foot the bill for the most part. But like a lot of Micronations, we do hope to transition into a point where the community, the wider community, is able to fund the ongoing development and expansion of Stomaria. But at the moment, it is very much our baby. It's very much, sort of in the hands of this Imperial family, in the sense that we can spend as much or as little on it as we want, and it will be as successful or as well funded as we want it to be. And because we value Stomaria, because it plays a significant part in our lives and in our mindset, it is something that we are looking to ensure succeeds. And if that requires additional funding, making small sacrifices in the short term for long-term benefit, then that is what we will do. So as I said, we raised £2,500 after the £25,000 total. Hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks, month, 2 months, whatever, we'll hit the 5,000 and the 10,000, eventually the 15 and 20 and 25. But that's all by the by. I mean, I have made a video about this before, but the reason we're raising these funds is to purchase land, to acquire more silver Stomarian stater coins, and to create a development fund for the Micronations in Stomaria to help them progress through direct financial contributions. I mean, I can't think of a more direct way, a more obvious way, a more impactful way to support a Micronation than to support them financially. So that is what we're going to be doing. It won't be on a massive grand scale, I'm sure, and I'm sure there will be people that would look to take advantage of that. But fortunately, I am someone that has my head screwed on, and I will not be taken advantage of in that way. So for those who think they can just sort of hop on board the train now that they can sniff some money, it's not going to happen like that. So yeah, I mean that's the reason we're raising those funds. In fact, it sort of ties into what I was saying earlier about King Raoul of Wayward, and the reason I'm going there, one of the reasons I'm going there, to have this discussion about the expansion of Sumerian territory and Waywardian territory. That sort of ties into it. But the Kingdom of Lithua in Wales, they've actually sent me a link to a plot of land near them. So it's also possible that we could be purchasing land in Wales, quite near where the Kingdom of Lithua is based, where they can govern it, they can manage it. We will have to have more discussions about that, in the sense that the Kingdom of Lithua is an ally of Stomaria, an external ally. It doesn't actually form a part of Stomaria's empire in the same way that Wayward or Norwic or Molossia or Moreland does. But nevertheless, they are a micronation we are looking to build closer ties with. So there may be a way in which we can sort of, I don't know, incorporate them into the Empire of Stomaria on a different level and a different scale. It's a bit of a funny one, because our government structure, doesn't really allow for micronations to have their own territory as well as governing Stomarian territory, and that is an obvious loophole, or an obvious issue once you actually get going. So, for instance, the Kingdom of Lithua has an island, and they could technically, if they wanted to, become an associated state of Stomaria, because they have private freehold land. But if they also govern a plot of land which is owned by the imperial family, if a micronational leader, or the highest authority of another micronation, is governing Stomarian territory, land that's owned by the imperial family, that land becomes a protectorate, which is different from an associated state. An associated state, they can walk off, no questions asked. I mean, the land is theirs, but a protectorate is directly owned by the imperial family, so there's a lot more security in that. But in the case of the Kingdom of Lithua, if they have their own private island, but also manage a plot of Stomarian territory, it would be a case of, even if they were a part of the empire, one would be an associated state and the other would be a protectorate. But at the moment, they're not either. They're actually an ally of Stomaria. So would they be able to govern a Stomarian territory? This is where it gets confusing. And it is something I'm going to have a little bit of a think about, because it is something that's going to come up. Even with the Kingdom of Wayward, the issue will still be present. So it's something I need to have a think about. I think the only real way I can get around it is if I define each of these territories as territories in their own right, and almost ignore the fact that the same person is managing more than one territory. So it would be like one person having two or more hats, if you like. So, you know, you could have King John of Lithua, because as I understand it, Princess Claire, who is the most prominent member of the almost vocal and visible member of the royal family of Lithua, but King John, as I understand it, is the actual the highest authority of that micronation. You could have King John technically being an ally of Stomaria, because the Kingdom of Lithua is an ally of Stomaria as it is, but then he might also be a governor as a protectorate. If the you know what, I'm not even going to discuss it here, because I could just go in circles, and I need to work on this. But again, this is what I'm just talking about. I'm just having a general chat. I'm just sort of, you know, having a thought process for everyone to see. So that's the sort of, what was it that we were talking about? The fundraising campaign and the land acquisition that sort of tied in together. And then we ended up talking about Lithua, and that was it. So while I'm talking about them, I may as well just discuss the other micronations in the Empire of Stomaria as well, how they're getting on. I mean, to be honest, it's been a bit quiet. I'm not going to lie, it's been, you know, it has tapered off a little bit, because there has been just, you know, activities in the lives of Prince Alexander of Moreland and Queen Eve of Molossia in particular. They've been very busy or had things to deal with, and so have not had as much time as they would have liked to dedicate to, our meetings or interactions with one another, which is fine. It sort of ebbs and flows sometimes in terms of people's commitment to a micronation or even their own micronation, because sometimes life just gets in the way. I can definitely sympathize with that. I've had a few of those periods in Stomaria's own history where, while I don't think you would notice many gaps as such in our sort of post-history, if you like, but there were definitely times where I was just like, I really just don't want to be doing this right now. I'd rather just be focusing on dealing with this and dealing with that, because, it's not all, sunshine and roses all the time. People have things in their lives that they have to deal with. People have things in their lives that they have to get on with. And I've had more than a few of those in recent years. Maybe I'll talk about it at some point, but I don't typically like to involve personal life within micronationalism, if you see what I mean. I could talk about, members of my extended family. I could talk about, a myriad of other things, I suppose, but it's just not relevant to micronationalism, and probably not of particular interest to people who are looking at a micronational channel. So I don't typically do that. There are a lot of people that do talk about their extended families and personal lives, but for me, I just don't think people are altogether that interested. But things have happened, and as I say, that's the reason that we sort of ebb and flow. So I'm not going to go into too many details with Molossia and Moreland, but they are still very much a part of the Empire of Stomaria. They're very much an integral part of Stomaria at that, and I do look forward to working with them more closely as once they've addressed the issues that they need to address, or once things calm down in terms of sort of work or other commitments. But again, like us, they're grinding. They're just trying to make it work. And even with the Kingdom of Wayward, I don't spend too much time, certainly not as much time as I used to, conversing with King Raoul, because he's grinding away as well. He's working very hard in traveling about, meeting people. He's doing job, trying to raise revenue. But they're all very important components of the Empire of Stomaria, and I look forward to trying to support them in whatever way I can going forward, and certainly this year if I can. What else can we talk about? The sort of goings on in Stomaria. Of course, we have our two most important events happening this month, which is Princess Eleanor's birthday on the 11th of June, and also Stomaria's 3-year anniversary on the 16th of June. I have yet to make videos for either of these dates. That is something that I probably should have done rather than this. So that's that time wasted. So I'll have to find a date to do that at some point, because that's something I want to do. I want to get into my sort of regal attire, give an address, go over what we've done, what we've accomplished, and how we're going to progress and go forward from here. And obviously Eleanor's birthday, the last time last year when she had her birthday, we posted a video, and it was just like a collage of some of the snippets of her sort of growing up. And I think I'll do something similar now. We've got so many videos we could put together now. Some of them are not, some of them are family only, but a lot of them I think can be sort of shed about. I don't think there's anything too problematic there. So we'll put those together, and yeah, those are two very important dates for me personally, and I'm sure for the wider Stomarian community, because obviously Princess Eleanor, she is the future Empress of Stomaria, should she wish it. I suppose that's something we could talk about at some point. I think maybe I did that in a Q&A about whether or not Princess Eleanor was going to take over from me when I sort of passed away, or when I sort of retired, if you like, once I abdicated. But yeah, she will be the next Empress of Stomaria. We are obviously a hereditary absolute monarchy, and she will take over the reins. And as I see her grow up, I do sometimes wonder, you know, what kind of micronational leader will she be? She will be a second generation micronationalist. She was born as Princess Eleanor of Stomaria. She was, you know, myself and Empress Samantha, we had Eleanor when, you know, nearly a full year into Stomaria's development. So she is very much a Stomarian citizen through and through, the first-born Stomarian citizen through and through, and that's something, isn't it? I mean, when you think of micronations and micronational leaders these days, I mean, they're normally just children and teenagers for the most part, and the idea that there would be micronations or micronationalists with children to carry things on, I mean, they are out there. Don't get me wrong, you just don't see it very often, and I think it's just quite exciting to think that one day she will be old enough to take over the reins, and she will become the new Empress of Stomaria. Because, you know, something that I'm quite keen to do is to ensure that the how would you call it? The imperial line, if you like, is maintained. It's not a case where the male heir has to, you know, takes precedence over the female. It's firstborn, regardless of whether or not they're a boy or girl. So we're quite progressive in that way, I suppose. But when, you know, Empress Eleanor, when Empress Eleanor sort of takes the helm, and, you know, again, should she wish it, if she has children, then they will be, you know, the eldest of her children will be the next emperor or empress of Stomaria, and on it'll go. And well, that's my hope anyway. That's my aspiration. That's what I'd like to not see, because I probably won't be around by the time it gets past a few generations. But that's something I would like to have happen. And who knows, maybe they'll sort of look back on these YouTube videos and see there's great-grandfather Andrew, or there's great-great-grandfather Andrew rambling about what's going to happen in, you know, somewhere between 50 and 100 years. You know, it's a really weird sort of thought process. But yeah, I mean, these are the things that sort of cross my mind on a daily basis. I could have probably made a whole video about, you know, whether or not Princess Eleanor would become Empress Eleanor, and then whether or not she, you know, what kind of ruler would she be, how would she, you know, do things differently, or how much further could it go from there, or what would happen between now and then, and just how far it can go. And I did make a video about this before, about how I wanted this to be a generational, lasting project, a lasting community, because the people around now that support Stomaria, you know, if they're dedicated enough, then who's to say that their own families, their own children won't also be second generation Stomarian citizens or supporters of Stomaria? You know, we could really build something in the sense that, you know, like, I don't know, like a genuine, real community that's not just, you know, here today, gone tomorrow. Because most micronations are just like that. They're just, you know, dust in the wind. They just fly by and that's them gone. Whereas the ones that have staying power, that's quite rare to see. And I think Stomaria is one that will have staying power. I mean, we've already made it to 3 years, which is a pretty impressive milestone in its own right. And it's not as if we're saying we're 5 years old, oh, but we only just joined Facebook or YouTube, whatever, 2 weeks ago, but take our word for it, we've been around for a long time. We have a track record, a public track record of our activities from the very day that we were founded. I mean, that started on Facebook and then moved on to YouTube. Now we have Twitter and Reddit and Discord and whatever else. But we have a footprint online, as well as in the real world, as to what we've been up to. And again, it's just quite rare and unusual to see that. But Yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. What have I been going on? Yeah, see, I've been going on over 20 minutes. That's long enough for any video. I don't think there's really much more I wanted to discuss off the top of my head. I'm sure there will be something as soon as I've stopped recording. But this was just a bit of an unusual one. I don't think this is going to be a very popular video, frankly, because it's not really targeted towards anything. It's just me rambling on about stuff. And I don't know. If people want to see more of it, let me know. But, you know, it's... Again, it just feels a bit surreal at the moment because I'm still going. I'm still just talking about nothing. Yeah, well, nothing specific. But yeah, I mean, if you did want to become a part of the Stomarian community, I've obviously set a great example if this is your first time ever watching one of our videos. But if you did want to become a part of the Stomarian community, then feel free to do so through our Patreon campaign, the link of which I shall leave in the description below as always. But otherwise, do feel free to give the video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.